So, I don't think I really have to explain much about what's going on in Baltimore right now. For the past few days, the media has been dominated in part by the coverage of the murder of Freddie Gray, but primarily by the public's response to it. Many people have chosen rioting and looting as a response to the murder, which is unfortunate, not only because the violent actions are destroying their own community, but also because it is distracting us from A, the murder itself, and B, the peaceful protesters who are reacting rationally to what has occurred and are trying to get something done about it. I'm not trying to downplay the negative effects that the rioting will have on the communities of Baltimore, but I would like to point out that the actions of the rioters has not resulted in the deaths of anyone yet. But the initial actions that is the cause of all this mayhem, the murder of Freddie Gray by Baltimore police officers, has resulted in a death. And the life of Freddie Gray is more important than the property that is being destroyed. No matter how much property damage is done, the actions of the Baltimore protesters will still never be as bad as the actions of the police officers who started this whole thing. No amount of property is worth a man's life. And the fact that this event occurred in my home state of Maryland makes it especially hard for me to stomach what those cops did to Freddie Gray. Now, it should be noted that the vast majority of protesters are peaceful citizens who are doing the right thing. And to everyone out there who wants to do the right thing and who wants to see justice served, it's time to take initiative. That's why I'm trying to launch this movement. In essentially every police shooting that we've seen over the past year, the officers involved made the decision not to release their account of what happened until after a significant amount of time has passed. There is a reason for this. When someone commits a crime such as murder, they want as much time as possible to think of an alibi. If the officers had been forced to give their accounts immediately after the incidents, their stories would be full of holes for the prosecution to poke through. Even with the officers having all the time they want to cook up an excuse, intelligent people have still been able to find significant inconsistencies in their stories in all of the previous shootings, but that still wasn't enough for a conviction or even an indictment in most cases. The officers involved in this case have already had many days to think of a story, and if we give them much more time, I believe that they will find a way to get off. And ultimately, there's only one man who can make them talk, and that is Baltimore Chief of Police Anthony Batts. Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake and Maryland State Attorney Marilyn Mosby have both made it very clear that they are trying to achieve justice for Freddie Gray, and ultimately that is great. But only Anthony Batts has the power to tell the officers involved that if they don't release their stories right now, they're fired. Now, I am generally wary of police officers in general, especially when racial matters are involved, but from the research that I've done so far, Anthony Batts, to me, seems like a decent man. He's a black man who grew up in a rough neighborhood in South Central LA to a single mother, and he experienced a lot of difficulties in his life and a lot of violence in his youth, and according to him, that's the reason why he chose to become a cop. And after some of the other recent incidents of police brutality, he was personally handpicked by President Obama to be on the task force on 21st century policing, which was formed as a response to other police shootings, and since then, he has not been silent on the issue of racism in the police force. So instead of rioting and looting, all the people who want to see justice for Freddie Gray should be calling on Police Chief Anthony Batts to force the officers involved to tell their stories now. They have already had more than enough time to think of what they're going to say. They have already had more than enough time to cook up some excuse that will blind us from the truth. And if they had been forced to speak right after the incident, I can almost guarantee that their anecdote would have enough holes in it for a conviction. But since we have already given them days to plan their excuse, it may be too late already. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that the sooner these officers are forced to speak, the better it is for justice. And that's why I'm calling on all of those who are listening to help me launch a movement to get Anthony Batts to make his officers speak. I will start off by showing this to my Justice for Trayvon Martin Facebook group and asking them to spread the word. And as the word spreads, I want other people making videos themselves calling for action from Anthony Batts as well. Alright, so share this to your friends, your family, show it to as many people as you know in order to get as many people as possible calling for action. And I understand that this effort will probably fall flat. You know, I'm just a 17-year-old with a laptop, and I don't think I have that much power. I've gotten a few hundred views on the videos I may have posted, so I'm not exactly what one would call a household name. But I just, had this gut feeling to do this because I've been disappointed so many times by the previous court decisions So all I'm asking is that the people who see this thing do their best to get this movement moving and to get Anthony Botts to make his officers tell us what happened as soon as possible. Thank you for listening.